How's it going, everybody? Small Man Podcast. Another episode. Got my good buddy Steve here on the line. Gonna go to an interview with him. How's it going, Steve?
Oh, unicorns and rainbows.
Always that bright sunshine dude that I remembered, man.
Yeah.
I think it's been a while since we've seen each other. I'm trying to remember the last time.
Probably my promotion.
I was thinking, yeah, shoot, is that almost 3 years now? Wow.
Yeah, just over 3 years.
Wow. That time flies, man. I remember we tried to get there, but by the time we got there, it was like pretty much done. The celebration was kind of beginning with the coolers and stuff. So we did get a few rows in, but it was a good day. It was definitely a good day.
We got good pictures out of it.
Yeah, for sure. So why don't we start off by introducing yourself, where you train, and what color belt you are?
Sure. My name's Steve Litschauer, train in Jiu-Jitsu therapy in Kaimuki, and I'm a first-degree black belt.
First degree black belt. Awesome. Yeah. So as we had discussed about 3 years into your black belt. Yeah. So Steve and I met in the early days of UFC, right? And you were like, I'm pretty sure we started, you were a white belt, but you weren't a white belt. Like you wore a white belt, but you would always beat me and Carter up, like in the nicest way possible, right? But there was some torture involved. Carter remembers you like kind of giving him some mean pressure and smashing him. He said you and Coach Jay would always give him the heat. So that was a long time ago, man. 10 plus years. Was that the first time you did jiu-jitsu, or when did you really start jiu-jitsu?
Officially, UFC was my real first home of jiu-jitsu. I had grappled all through high school and wrestling, and I'd gotten to a couple grappling clubs back in Baltimore, but it was just guys who liked to roll. It wasn't really classes, so we'd have sambo guys, wrestlers, jiu-jitsu guys. So I was real comfortable grappling, but to the jiu-jitsu kind of curriculum, I would say UFC was my official start.
Yeah, I remember like it couldn't have been from your, I don't know if it's from your grappling days, but I still remember like your guard was just like impassable, like because you were like, it didn't help that you like your legs and your arms were way longer than us, but we could never get out of your guard, man. That was something that you're really good at. I'm assuming that, your game has grown significantly since then, but, I guess like, did you gravitate towards that style of play initially because of your physicality?
No, I wanted to do something different. That's why I started jujitsu really, and it would have been easy to come in and double leg everybody and really use my wrestling as my foundation. But I thought to myself, if I'm going to do something new, I want to try something new. Let me start with guard. I've never really played guard before. I can see how beneficial it is. I'm athletic and long legs and everything, so this might be real good for me. So I just started playing a whole lot of close guard. Every time I could roll, I worked into the close guard and just found a style and foundation there that I worked out of.
Yeah, you're good at it. You're definitely good. Those early days, I was stuck. Like you had to give me a chance to let me get out of there.
Don't get in.
Yeah, well, easier said than done, right? So, did you start at UFC when they first opened, or was it like a little time had passed before like you actually joined UFC?
It was probably within the first year, but I wasn't there for the opening ceremonies and things. The guys that have been there a little bit um, were just making blue belt, like Brian Montero, I think, was a blue belt, fresh blue belt when I walked in the door.
Yeah, there was some good times. I mean, back in those days, I remember like the classes are good size, but the thing that stuck out to me was our open mats, those Sunday open mats.
We hit that UFC at, I would have called it the heyday. Prior to COVID, we had an awesome group of people that trained regularly, and we all saw the benefit of UFC and the quantity of classes and the times that were available for us to train. So I would get in at 5 and do a no-gi class, and then at 6 was a gi class, and then at 7 was some open mat time, and I could do that 5 days a week and an open mat on the weekend, and it was just so much available mat time for us. And the quality of coaches we had at the time was amazing. We had Merckx, Jay, Scott Junk, Russell, Templo, um, probably a few others I'm missing, but just all that coaching expertise available to us every night. Nisa too. Nisa was there.
He's a,
Was amazing, and I don't think we realized it at the time how good we had it as far as coaching.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like every once in a while, my Facebook memories pop up and I look at those open mats and I look at the people that were there. I'm like, man, this is like, ah, to your point, right? I mean, I was a white belt, so I had no idea. Like, I thought, oh, everybody has this, right? Everybody has like 30 plus people and like 6, 7 black belts showing up and all of that. I thought, oh, this is just normal, right? And then later on, I go, wow, I really missed that. That's not the reality of things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know that we'd ever, I don't know that anybody's ever going to see that again, too. That was, I mean,
Well,
jujitsu
part
has,
of it was COVID, and part of it was they opened more gyms, so the coaching staff spread out, which meant some of the students spread out, and you had more options. You didn't have to drive as far if you lived in Meolani or Kailua. So it, it it had an impact on what we had.
yeah, you're right. And then to your point, right, when COVID hit, because before COVID, Carter and I were like low on the rung, like we were, we were like the new guys. And then as soon as COVID hit, then everybody disappeared. And then we were like, oh, like we're the OGs. Like, what happened here? But I think what really hurt, well, I understand why it happened, but UFC was a corporate gym, so they had to follow policy. Whereas these other startup places, they're kind of under the radar. Like they weren't really governed by any bigger entity. So they were running classes and we lost a lot of people to different gyms and everybody moved. It was, yeah, it was a interesting time. Yeah, it's pretty rough. Yeah. So, as I was thinking about it because somebody was talking about COVID the other day in one of the interviews. And what did you do during COVID as far as your jujitsu?
Oh, we trained. We had a small group of, I think there were 6 of us that only trained with each other, and we just kept training, learning, practicing, all healthy COVID habits, washing hands and sanitizing. And if you were sick, stay at home. And nobody even had a cough when they came in. But that small group just stayed consistent for, was it 2.5 years? And then we opened the doors back up to little by little, and the classes got bigger.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So for us, it was Carter and I at home beating each other up on the carpet. And then Tang opened up his space. So Tang's space started slow, but a lot of people had no place to train. And then it just grew and grew. And then unfortunately, somebody brought COVID there and a few of us got it. And it was unfortunate, but I mean, it's in the past. So, okay. So at what point did you shift over to Brian's school?
Brian's school, right when I made purple belt, right around when I made purple belt, I was in a really high competition phase, and I had moved to town for work. I was working in Waikiki, so that drive out to Mililani and Waikele at 5 o'clock at night was not easy on the H1. So I needed something closer to town, and had some training partners from UFC that had gone over to Brian's and said, Steve, you need to check this out because this isn't like anything we've ever seen. This is like master's degree level body mechanics and science and physics, and this isn't anything anybody else teaches. And I think it would be really good for you to come over and check it out. So I did, and been there ever since.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that. Rachel talked a little bit about it too in her interview, that Brian takes a very different approach at his teaching style, which is very interesting. I guess because of his depth of knowledge on the on body movement mechanics. Yeah, it's very different. I think he's probably, I don't know that anybody else here in Hawaii teaches that way. Everybody's technique.
Have never seen a school that I've visited anywhere in the world that talks about this level of body mechanics and biology and anatomy.
So, I mean, do you think, obviously, right, Brian's your coach and he's been your coach from purple to black. I guess you think he's probably had the biggest influence on you as far as your jujitsu?
Absolutely. It's there's no doubt in my mind. The I walked in with a competitor's mentality and just because prior to COVID, again, we were in the heyday of UFC and jiu-jitsu. We had tournaments every month, every single month of the year. So I never stopped maintaining weight. I never was out of competition mode. I would go from Triple Crown to Naga to Icon to whatever. And every month of the year, I had competition for several years in a row. And then walking into the door at Brian's, and he says, "Here, have a seat and study this anatomy book. And let me tell you how it applies to being more efficient with your guard or your arm bar, your whatever that he was showing in class." Just, I had to unlearn jujitsu the way I'd learned it and relearn it in this more scientific anatomy way, both to be more efficient, but also we are a club where I think the average age at one time on our mats was 52. So we're a
Holy,
group of we're a group of older grapplers that have to go to work the next day. We are not trying to win world championships and we're not trying to hurt each other, and we're all in that same mentality. So we want to train as long as possible. And with Brian's, I don't know if you call it system or his approach or his focus on mechanics, I think as long as we're interested, we could train into our 70s there and have no issues whatsoever.
yeah, I think at our age, how old are you, Steve?
40, what year is it? 45?
45. Okay, yeah, as we
45,
start to age,
46?
as we start to get older, it's less about winning the gold medal. It's more about longevity. Yeah, training smart and having good partners, and to your point, understanding the body and how to make it work properly. Yeah. So, with that knowledge that Brian has presented and that you've started to absorb, can you kind of frame how your jujitsu changed from, back the UFC days to maybe now?
There were this is no slight on UFC or our coaches there whatsoever, and it's not anything I'm trying to say. But there were moves that were taught, and there were things that were taught in jujitsu that everybody was expected to perform it the same way as a class, kind of universal armbar, universal sweep. That everybody did it the same way, and we practice it the same way. I wanna think that it was just because we had limited class time in those days. You know, we did our warm up, we did 2 moves and drill, and then we rolled. There wasn't time to really get deep into the mechanics. So, Brian, we're looking at anatomy books and bone structure and ligaments and fascia and how they move while you're moving your body to apply certain things. You don't have to force move specific movements on everybody in the same way. Rachel and I can't have the same style. She is tiny and I'm a pretty big athletic guy. And the way I do arm bars and the way she does arm bars, it's going to be really, really different. So, Brian encourages us to have our own style, develop our own style, but apply the principles and the body mechanics to make our own styles more efficient and less destructive to our bodies.
I see, because I think, aren't your guys' classes like 3, 4 hours? They're pretty 3 hours. Yeah, you can cover a lot of ground in 3 hours. Yeah, for sure. To that
We do
point.
about 30 minutes of body movement up front. Then we do about an hour, hour and a half of application and concepts. And then we roll for about an hour, hour and a half. And at the end, nobody's injured and we all feel good. And we really got deep into the understanding of what's going on with the body and what we're trying to do to somebody else's body to make them tap.
Mm. Because your guys' class size is like not big, right? I mean, maybe what, 10 people,
Right?
8 people,
Yeah, 10 to 12 usually.
10 to 12. Yeah, that makes
Mhm.
it a lot more manageable. Like you said, UFC, we got 20, 30, 40 people with maybe one instructor with maybe one helper, and you
Yeah,
realistically have maybe 20 minutes to try to teach something. That's hard. That's pretty hard. So,
exactly.
yeah, you got to be super efficient. And even at that, you got such a broad range of beginners to advanced. You're not going to hit the mark on everybody. Yeah, interesting. Has this knowledge that you've obtained affected the way you teach or coach?
Absolutely. Everything I teach um, to anyone else involves the body mechanics, alignment of the spine, the way your eyes lead your head, the amount of pressure you can generate just by framing your body in specific ways, in specific positions. It is so focused on the movements of the body to have efficient jujitsu to execute.
I guess, when I think about it, wondering why other people don't teach it this way, I'm assuming there aren't a whole lot of black belts that have the kind of knowledge that Brian has and experiences that he has to explain things to this degree.
Well, it's his I'll call it his day job. He's a physical therapist and he studies the body and he fixes the body from injuries people have. So he understands the overlaying systems of the body, the organs, the bones, the ligaments, the fascia, and how you manipulate or use those to either heal the body, maintain the body, or how you could damage your body if your posture's off or if your something's incorrectly aligned. It really can cause problems. So we used to talk about when we would go to big tournaments like IBJJF, you would see the jujitsu walk. It's kind of hunched over in the back, bowed legs, kind of limping along. And it was so common to see everybody in that position because the way they practiced jujitsu was really curled inward. Um, and they were doing bad things with their knees. So we avoid those. We understand them. We avoid them. And we don't have those problems the way other people do.
You know, when you got your black belt, did you feel a change in mindset or responsibility or perspective on your jujitsu?
Responsibility was the first thing that hit me, that I both represented the school and Nova União, which our school is part of the Nova União world. Um, Having a responsibility to represent other people other than myself as a competitor, I was really fighting for myself and my own ego. But being a representative of jujitsu therapy, um, really refocus what I was doing, not just on the mat, but when I would meet other people or be able to invite other people selectively to join us. Um, I had to make sure that they were the right fit personality wise, where their jujitsu was, and we're very strategic in who we allow to join our little club because it's it's so connected to our livelihood and being able to go to work and not worrying about injury that not everybody wants to train that way. So having a responsibility to protect my teammates and represent our club.
Yeah, I was just talking about a level of trust that you need to have with your partner, because you put yourself, you're going to be in definitely potentially dangerous or awkward positions, and if you don't have full trust in the person that they know what they're doing, it's pretty hard to keep moving with that person, right? You're gonna have to have that level of trust, right? So,
I'll give you an example, little story from our gym. We don't have too many rules because we've been training with each other for so long. But one of the things that we remind each other of is any submission is open. You can do it. There's not IBJJF rules here. All submissions are open as long as you execute them with control. And that reminds us, no matter if we're doing heel hooks or foot locks or whatever chokes, that we could injure each other, but we need to remember execute these with control so we don't injure each other. And that has gone, just that reminder, practice jujitsu with control. And we have very little issues.
I think sometimes that's something that's not voiced enough in a lot of schools, especially with, I mean, inevitably, like schools need students, so they're gonna accept pretty much anybody within reason, right? But a lot of them come in and I've talked a lot about this with people about the spazzy white belt phase, and they're just
Yeah.
dangerous. But
Yeah.
if they don't get spoken to, no one corrects them, they don't know otherwise, and they're just gonna
Yeah.
be. I mean, I went through that phase. Fortunately, it didn't last that long, but I experienced it. But that's just that's tough. But I guess good that you guys have a clear screening process on how and who you let in,
Yeah.
because without that, yeah, the person could just be hurting people unnecessarily. So, with that said, right, do you think that, as people get promoted along the line, right, obviously skill is one thing, but do you think character comes into play as far as like if you're like the head instructor and someone is, you can see they're ready for their next belt, but they got character issues, right? Do you distinguish character issues from skill? I know it's probably not going to happen where you guys are at for the most part because you already taken care of that to start. But say you're at a different gym and, Steve, you're the head professor and you got it, it's the promotion time. How do you view that as far as a student?
I don't know if it's a cultural um, issue or cultural thing here locally that we don't have as many direct conversations to people about their jujitsu. There's no real feedback loop other than results a lot of times. So if you're not having conversations with your students about you need to tone down the aggressiveness, you're going to hurt somebody, or I need to see more work passing guard for you to understand where you are in this belt. Giving feedback, giving people the direct feedback without being mean, just neutral, factual feedback. Um, for some people, that's what they need is to hear it. Like you said before, it's not spoken about enough. I think people's progress in the whole promotion area, we lack a little bit of that feedback loop that I think a lot of people would benefit from. And if they heard it, they would have the opportunity to either accept it or ignore it. But if they accept it, they may start working more on passing guards, or they may start working more on footlock defense, or they may tone it down more. That a general announcement to a big room, hey, we're here to just roll, don't hurt your partner. Some people don't get those general messages as
Hmm.
well. They don't think it applies to them directly. So, um, I think for me, that's the best way to help guide students is to have direct conversations and give them feedback. As far as character, if you're having conversations and they're taking advice and they're working on the things that you're giving them feedback on, that shows a lot of the character that they're willing to listen and take guidance from you. If they ignore it and do not change, then you have to make a decision based on the school's, whether it's a profit driven thing or a personality of the school. You have to make a decision whether they can stay or go. And if you allow that person to stay and act that way, it will eventually multiply in some way.
You're right. You're right. But I think you hit the nail on the head that culturally, people avoid some of those conversations because they don't hurt the person's feelings. They want to appear arrogant. I don't care. Like me, if I see people being dangerous, I just talk to them quietly on the side. I don't like call them out or make a big scene out of it. Just let them know you're being dangerous. And I would say the majority of the time, they don't even realize it. They don't recognize that they're
Yep,
being dangerous because they're new. They
exactly.
have nothing. They don't know. So it's on us as the senior students or even the instructors to right the ship for them and get them on the correct path. Because if jiu-jitsu was based solely on strength and physicality, I would have been done a long time ago. I don't have any of that. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway. All right, let's talk about the Steve's competition history, right? So when did you when
Sure.
did you start when did you start competing and what belt were you?
White belt.
What belt?
6 months in was my first tournament.
I still remember there was this one competition. I can't remember what tournament it was, but I saw like this big old dude, like it was a no-gi match. He's bald, he had tattoos, pretty much looked like he came out of prison. Like I was like, and
Yeah,
I was new too, right? I didn't understand like that doesn't equate to skill, right? But he just looks intimidating. I'm going, holy shit, look at that guy. And he went, yep, that's the guy I'm going against. Like, I don't know if you remember that match. That dude looked
I do.
scary.
He was wearing a blue gi, and he was
That
strong.
was
But if I recall that one, I swept him in the 3rd minute, got on top and did a cross choke, was single-handed cross choke, and that was it for that one. But he was tough. He was super aggressive, but that's the way
I,
that one
I
went.
I think that's a good example of, technique over strength,
Yeah,
right? In that scenario, right? I always say there are limits to that. Like if I'm going against the rock, like yeah, my technique ain't gonna do nothing against the rock, but within reason, right? Like, it kind of plays out that way. So you've because you've competed nationally and internationally?
yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I, I've probably had 80 to 100 competition
Wow.
matches. I think Jeremy, Nita, and I were probably the most competitive there for a few years before COVID.
Solid.
Not at each other, but
Oh,
individually,
right,
I
right.
think we
In
competed the
general.
most
Mm,
locally.
mm.
Yeah.
So what kind of wisdom can you share with somebody that's maybe earlier on in their competition that you've attained from, those matches you've done, of course, prior to COVID?
If you want to do it, do it. And if you don't, you don't have to. I don't believe in forcing people to walk the plank or jump in the fire. That's not why everybody tries jujitsu. Some people want exercise, some people want to socialize, some people want the art, and some people want to compete. So if you're interested in competition, put yourself out there and try it. But if you're not, don't please just don't force yourself if that's not your thing. There's no no requirement there. But I really learned a lot from competition. I would try to get my fights recorded and then watch how I did, good or bad, and then adjust my game going forward. And really being able to rewind a match or a technique and watch it slowly was really good. I took an academic approach to that and really studied it like a football coach would with tape. So look for
Mm,
patterns, look for ways to improve, look for things that worked well, and um, yeah, that's competition for me was great, but it's not for everybody.
it's not for everyone. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But I do try to tell people if you're on the fence, just try it at least one time. You might
Yep,
love it, you might hate it, but you never know till you try. If you're to your point, if you're dead set against it, yeah, just don't do it. It's not for you.
I loved it and saw the value so much that I would enter tournaments and fill as many spots as I could through registration. I would do gi, no gi. If there was an open weight, I would do that too. It got so good there for about 2 years that Triple Crown and Naga refs would recognize me and say, "Hey, I need you for this bracket, or will you fill in for this higher belt match or higher weight or lower age? Because there's two guys from the same school over there. Will you jump in so that there's they can roll with somebody else, or somebody dropped out or got hurt, so this guy needs a match. So I would take matches just for the experience of
Mm,
being able to learn from it. And I would walk out of a Naga. I may have had 8 or 10 matches that day in various brackets, and just that amount of knowledge to go study until the next one really was good for me. I enjoyed it.
yeah. Mat time and all that data and all that video to study. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. When's the last time that you competed?
Brown belt is a brown belt. Probably 3, 4 years ago, right after COVID, I jumped in one. And then we had my daughter, and competition's done with an infant and now toddler.
Mm, mm, yeah, family definitely comes first. That's for you, right? So it's a good segue to like how do you balance your training, your job, your family, what how do you approach that?
That's my biggest challenge, is figuring out a way to do what I love along with what I have to do. And sometimes you have to back out for a little while and you have to readjust. So my daughter is a toddler and she needs structure and daddy time and things to happen at certain times. I used to be away at jujitsu, and now it's bath time, book time, bedtime, that kind of stuff. And I need to be involved in that. And I also have a lot of commitments at night through work that I have to do as well. So between my daughter and work, jujitsu suffers right now. But as it opens up and as my daughter gets a little older and can start joining class, I would say probably 5, maybe 4, she'll get on the mat and start taking Mel's classes. Then it'll provide the opportunity to get back into the gym and train more.
So as it stands, you don't get to train much.
Very little right now. Is so much commitment with work and a toddler that I can jump in once in a while, or I might find an open mat on the weekend I can jump into. But it's just life priorities come up, and
Yeah.
the ebb and flow of the ocean is the same thing. It comes and goes. So my availability for jujitsu right now is not there, and that's okay with me. I have other important things. I was so dedicated to jujitsu for so many years. Like I said, I would train 3, 4 hours a night, 5, 6 days a week, and I put in my time and have so much knowledge that I'm so happy where I am, and I don't mind taking the break for higher priorities because I know I'll
Oh yeah.
I'll be back as soon as a puka opens up somewhere in there.
I didn't realize that Brian School had kids.
Yep, there is a small
Mm.
kids class. Mel, his wife Mel Wong, also a black belt. She does the kids class right before the adults class, and kids class is small, maybe 6, maybe sometimes 8 kids, but same thing. Very, very selective small group that she works with, and same thing with the adults. They not trying to kill each other. They're very focused on technique and movement and posture, and it's getting them very comfortable into what we do as adults um, in their kids' environment. So
Oh
it'll be easy
nice.
for them to join us at some point.
Oh nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
What line of work are you in?
Oh, sure. My full time day job, I'm a director of facilities and environmental services. So I manage about 40 facilities statewide, and have been doing this type of work for about 25 years. So facilities management.
Oh
Um,
nice.
That's my day job, and at night, I'm a lecturer in higher education. I've been
Oh
teaching
that's
about sev
that's cool. That's cool.
I'm I've been teaching for about 17 years, mostly at night and on the weekends, and I have a passion for teaching. I love it, especially at the college level. Right now, I teach courses at HPU in business and construction management. I teach at West Oahu in facilities management and business law. I teach at UH Scheidler School of Business. I teach business and business tech. and UC Berkeley online, I teach facilities management and technology.
Wow. That's pretty full schedule there. No wonder you don't have much time for jujitsu between that, your day job, the family. Man, I just get
Yeah.
tired listening to you say what you're doing.
I love teaching. If it paid what facility management pays, I'd be doing it full time and just teaching. That's kind of my goal for retirement, is just to teach. But right now, it's my passion. I love it. I love bringing the lessons I've learned from the business environment, my career, into the classroom, and being able to help students see the value and how what they're learning is applicable to the real world. I don't do philosophy of business. I do practical problem solving, real world scenarios. So,
I was in IT for a while and I took classes, and the best classes were always people that professionally they did that work and they taught it on, as a secondary side to it.
Mhm.
Because to your point, I mean, teaching me something from 60 years ago ain't gonna help me. You're telling me something that you worked on last week and a problem you went through, that's huge. That's big.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you teach, I'm assuming most of your courses are taught online?
I would say 60 to 70% are online, and that's a variety of synchronous and asynchronous. So some of them are what I call post and grade, where we're never online at the same time. You do them at your own pace, and I grade the work and give feedback. Some of them are synchronous, where we're online live like this. My Berkeley classes are all online, so we're at 6 p.m. there. It's usually about 4 p.m. here, and we do class synchronous. And then about 30% of my classes are in the classroom, live in person. And that's my absolute favorite. I really do well with students in the classroom. Just the feedback, you can feel the room, you can break out into small groups, and I can walk around and check in on what they're doing, give feedback. And that's my favorite place to be, is in the classroom.
Do you notice between those three different avenues of teaching that students perform better in any of them? Like I know you like in person, but do you notice if the students perform better in any of the three?
Absolutely. But it's student specific. So each
Mm.
student will have a delivery method that they will succeed in better. Um, some students really thrive off of that one on one interaction in the classroom, where others are fitting in their class time at 6 in the morning before they go to work, or on the weekend when they have time in between life. Um, the Berkeley students are very committed online synchronous, but it's hard to have breakout groups and work with each other as you would in a classroom online. There are ways to do it, but it's just not as fluid. But it works for them because they're all working professionals taking classes at night. So it works for them. So I
Mm.
think it's student
Mm.
specific.
I see. I see. Interesting. All right. So with that busy schedule, right, do you do any sort of other activities to keep yourself physically fit?
Yeah, the exercise that comes with chasing a toddler is my number one fitness routine right now. That is a mixture of sprints, squats, jumping, catching, who knows what. Right now, that's it. That's my life, is work and toddler. But outside of that, if you asked me that question 2, 3, 4, 10 years ago, I've done triathlons, I've done marathons, I've done open water swim races. I did the Spartan races a couple times. I've always been active and athletic. Um, so I've done a lot of different types of things like that, but I've never been one to sit in the gym on machines or weights.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I hear you. So I asked this question to Rachel and she kind of gave me the answer. I have a feeling you do something similar, but when you were training more frequently, were there things you did for recovery?
My favorite recovery, um, I guess, action. I have my house here is pretty new, so I was able to add in a few things that my wife allowed me to into the design, and one was a soaking tub. So I have a double wide, double deep tub with the armrests, and being able to fill that up with hot water and Epsom salt and just lay in it after training is so good for muscle stiffness and soreness. It's just fantastic.
That's interesting because I do something very similar. I don't have a as big a tub, but definitely soak after training. That's definitely helps me to get relaxed. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Are you a strict person when it comes to eating as far as healthy food, or just kind of moderation kind of guy?
Right now, or when I was in competition mode? Two
Yeah,
different answers. Right now, it's
yeah, maybe.
eating the leftovers off the toddler plate. But competition mode, I was very, very strict when it came to competition. I think I was down to 165 for a lot of my competition days. I'm a natural 185 guy, um, but competition, I was down to like 165, and I had a very strict routine. Um, Breakfast was fruit or oatmeal, not sweetened oatmeal, just plain oatmeal. Lunch, I would have, it was, my wife calls it my competition concoction. I would make a plate of canned tuna, raw spinach, cucumbers, kimchi, and nori. And that was my lunch. That's what it was. And then dinner, my favorite dinner when I was training and keeping weight was chicken pho with no noodles, extra steamed veggies in the bowl. So had the flavor of pho, not all the carbs. But that I was very strict in competition
I
time.
can see I can see how that can keep your weight quite well maintained. It's pretty rigid. I don't know that I could do
Yeah.
that. All right. Okay, so I've asked all the questions I have. I'm gonna go into
Mhm.
the part what I call rapid fire questions. Okay.
Sure.
I know you haven't trained in a while, so you may have to think back a little bit, but let's give it a
Yeah.
shot. Okay. Favorite guard,
Z guard.
Z guard. Favorite
Hmm.
submission,
Wrist lock or foot lock?
takedown or guard pull.
Oh, guard pull. I'm too old for takedowns.
Favorite gi brand,
Tap cancer out.
favorite gi color,
Black.
black. How many gis do you think you have?
Oh, I've gone down. I've donated a lot to our training partners. I'm probably down to 8.
If you have a favorite training partner, who is it?
Either Brian, because of the physical chess that he has in his game, or Oi.
Have you ever had to use your training outside of the gym in a self-defense situation?
Yes. Story goes like this. I was at Bank of Hawaii in Royal Kunia. This was maybe white belt or blue belt days. I was sitting in the parking lot at Bank of Hawaii, and a guy and a woman get out of a Forerunner, and he's kind of being aggressive with her and like forcing her toward the bank. And I said, that looks kind of weird. And so he pushes her into the bank, and they go into the bank. So I got out of my car, took a picture of the license plate, and just stood outside my car just to watch. Something didn't feel right. So they eventually came out, and he was again like really grabbing on her, like forcing her to the car and telling her, get in the car. And she saw me and said, Mister, please help, please help. And she got out of his grips and ran towards me. And I said, stand behind me. And the guy came up, and I could tell he was on another planet. It was some kind of substance type thing. Eyes were twitchy, and I could tell he was not all there, but he was aggressive, trying to grab her, threw me around. Give me my girlfriend, get out of my way. And I said, dude, just leave, just go. I called the cops, get out of here. No, give me my girlfriend. I said, you're not taking her anywhere. and he grabbed my shirt. And as soon as he grabbed my shirt, the switch went off in my head. I did a belly-to-belly suplex on him and slammed him down on the concrete. Uh, and then I got on side control and choked him out. And he was out. He was cold. So I stood up and turned around to check on her, and he just woke up and got back up. And I turned around. He pulled out a knife on me, little folding pocket knife. He said, how's this? How's this? And I squared up to him and I said, I will kill you. Just leave. And he looked at me and I looked at him. The bank had the windows, so everybody was watching what had happened out in the park. And people started coming out. Stop, stop, stop. They saw him with the knife. And he looked at them and looked at me, and he just took off running. He didn't even get his car. He just took off running toward Eva. Cops eventually showed up, and I explained what happened, and that was it. I don't know if they ever got him, but yeah.
It was that lady's lucky day, for sure.
It was bad. It was afterwards was scary. What could have happened? But
yeah, really. All right. Okay. Best training advice you ever received?
you don't need to win Tuesdays. It's something Brian said. I don't know if he got it from somewhere else, but it's that mindset of we're not in this room training to win over each other. We're here to help each other learn and get better. And you don't try to kill me. I don't try to kill you. And we go so much farther in this journey that you don't need to win Tuesday in practice. If you want to win Tuesday, go compete or go somewhere else, but you don't have to win Tuesday.
I love that mindset. I love that mindset. Okay, so before you stopped training, what was your favorite post-training meal?
Chicken pho with the noodles.
Favorite sports team?
Patriots.
Patriots. Because you're from Boston.
I'm from Baltimore.
Baltimore.
No, Baltimore. Grew up in Baltimore, but when I grew up, we didn't have a team. The Colts had left. The Ravens weren't invented yet. So I was watching TV and saw the Minutemen with the muskets and said, that's my team. My stepdad laughed at me. He said, they're awful. They're 3-13. They're awful. I said, well, that's going to be my team. And stuck with them, and we've had some success over the years. So I made a good choice as a kid.
Yeah. Good old Tom Brady. Changed that franchise history. Awesome stuff.
And Belichick.
All right. And Belichick. Yep, for sure. If you could roll with one person in history, alive or dead, who would it be?
George Wang. Did you know George?
From Cheers?
No.
No.
George Wang.
I'm sorry. Oh, George Wang. Yes. Yes, I know George. Yeah.
Yeah. So George, I met George at a Keikoa open house. George is about your size and probably around the same age. They're just tiny, older Japanese guy. I'm sorry, Taiwanese guy. And met him at Keikoa, and he said, hey, you want to roll? And I said, sure. So we're rolling, and he was just fascinated at some of the jiu-jitsu therapy things I was showing him that we do. So I invited him to jiu-jitsu therapy, and he loved it so much. He joined us, and George had almost a childish fascination with what we were doing. Everything we showed him, he would say, that's amazing. And he meant it because he'd never seen it before. It just made so much sense to him, the mechanics and the posture, this and that. He just loved learning what we were doing over there. So George eventually got cancer and couldn't roll anymore. And so we would visit him in his house when he was sick, and we would visit him in the hospital, and eventually he passed. And if I could roll with anybody, it would be George one more time.
Yeah, I had the good fortune of meeting George at Tang's place, and he would always be a good row with me. We'd always go back and forth. To your point, very, very nice person, very innocent soul, very, very, very friendly and very likable. So yeah, I really like George as well.
Yeah.
Morning or night training?
Oh, night. Absolutely. I'm a night person. I've always trained at night. Night. You're not getting me in a 5 a.m. class if you paid me. In no way.
What's one myth about jiu-jitsu that you feel isn't true?
Um, I think that you have to be a gi or no gi. Like you have to make a hard line decision. Is it gi or no gi for you? And I don't think that's true. I think some schools teach certain ways, and I think some people prefer one over the other. But my game has been built out of wrestling, so my grips and things have always been no-gi grips, and I use the
Mm.
same exact grips in the gi. I don't rely so much on the grips of the gi. I use the wrists, I use the ankles, I use hip control, back of the neck control. So it doesn't matter to me because my game is the same either way. I'm doing this exact same things and I don't have to learn two different ways. So I don't think there has to be a one choice over the other.
Mm, agreed. All right. What's Steve's biggest fear?
Ooh. In the jujitsu world, it'd probably be the day I can't train anymore.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. All right, Steve, that's the last one that I have. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy, busy day to chat with me. Want to give you a chance to give a shout out to anybody and everybody.
Sure. I've mentioned Brian and Mel and the whole jujitsu therapy team over there. Give thanks to Nisa and Nova Uniao for always supporting what we're doing out there on the side at our outpost. And I like to thank Tap Cancer Out because they're a nonprofit that all of their revenue goes to cancer research, and cancer has impacted too many people, especially in my life, that if you can buy a bag, buy a hat, buy a gi, buy anything, Tap Cancer Out is a fantastic way to support that and your jujitsu habit.
Well said, Steve. Thank you again from everybody at Small Man Jiu-Jitsu. Thank you, Steve, for taking time out with us today. Hope to see you on the mats when your daughter gets a little older. Catch you on the
You've been
next one.
invited several times to come over there with us. You need to take me up on that.
All right, I will for sure. All right, thanks, Steve.
Take care, Rob.